Well, hello and good morning, good people of the interwebs. Of course, I'm the Tenkaichi of Gaming, Pookie Izzy 7, and I ran across this through Facebook the other day. Now, this is something I really don't hear much of, but this is something I think we all need to take a lesson from, whether whether we're all gamers, purists, and everybody in between that. Because you have your good gamers, you have your bad gamers, you have hardcore casual, and everything in between. So here's something that came from a game developer. I help make video games, and I'm sick of the hatred from gamers. By the way, this is from Kotaku. I shall share this with you, and I'll give my 2 cents afterwards. The following editorial was written by a developer who has been testing and making games for 5 years. The developer asked to be kept anonymous. Dear consumers and fans of video games, you don't know me, but you might know some of the games I've helped create. And as I come to a close on another one of the AAA titles I've worked on, I begin to get excited for all of the people that will love our game, and I begin to loathe those who will hate it. Out of the millions around the globe who will pick up our game and love it, only thousands will flock to the internet and scream about how much it sucks, how it's broken, it's buggy, it stinks so much. Of course, there will always be critics. The world needs them. But I don't think there's ever justification for the personified negative attacks, the hate speech, and the borderline cruelty to those who worked 12 plus hours for days, weeks, months, and in some cases years to get games in the best possible shape. Granted, feedback is warranted. If we fucked up on our game and our game is broken, you should tell us. I don't ever want to ship a broken product, but stuff like, I hope the idiot people who made this just kill themselves and after they kill their family, makes me want to quit my job and move to another industry. Seeing statements like that spread across the internet, seeing insults hurled at hardworking developers who love the games they work on, just makes me lose hope in people. I'm not Cliff Bleszinski. I'm not Ken Levine. I'm just a guy who has seen a lot of hatred that is undeserved for a medium that really is just for a piece of entertainment. I'm relatively new to the field. I've been working in games for 5 years, but I've never seen this level of hatred in any other industry. Do thousands of people say they want to they want to kill Tom Cruise if he plays a scene in a way they don't like? They might criticize it, but they don't tell him to go kill himself because they disliked what he did. Honestly, at times this hatred makes me not want to work in games anymore. I come to work and put in 80 hours. Some weeks, not because I have to, but because I love what I do. There are many out there like me. For some, yes, it is about the money. But I'm a salary employee. I want my games to do well. I want people to love them. And if someone were to come out and say something horrible, like the insults I see on message boards, or on social networks, or in colleagues' email inboxes, it just baffles me that this has become the norm. How is it acceptable? Most gamers have no idea what really goes on into software development, or how difficult it is to get hundreds of people coordinated and working together on a project, and it sometimes drives me crazy to see their vitriolic comments. And even if I say it wrong, you know what I'm trying to say. It's not what I want anyone to censor themselves. It's not that I want anyone to censor themselves. I just want more people to think about what it is that they're saying. And maybe think twice about degrading the people who put their time and energy into making games, even when those games don't turn out to be so great. Let us not forget that games are made by people who love them. I eat, sleep, and breathe video games, and they'll always be a part of my life. It is important to remember that not every game is on the same playing field. Game developers that are not owned by first-party publishers like Sony and Microsoft tend to have fewer resources and smaller walls, yet they are often asked to create games on par with the bigger guys, whose budgets tower over their competitors. During the half decade I worked in gaming, I've had the opportunity to work for a publisher, a first-party developer, and an independent developer. Yeah. In those 5 short years, I've seen people turn their passion into products both good and bad, and what we've done together has been truly amazing. Game developers don't just sit in front of their computers drawing doodles and typing out code. We create fun out of thin air. We take hundreds of hours of discussions, refinements, and debates, and we make them appear on screen. Game developers make art. So, before you send death threats to people, or give out zeros on Metacritic, or write unnecessarily mean things about games you spent just a few hours on, remember that what you're playing is the culmination of years of someone's life. Usually it's not just one life, but tens, or hundreds, or even thousands of people who wake up every day at the crack of dawn thinking about the experiences they're going to create. The video game industry is dominated by introverts, creative, passionate people who might struggle with depression due to the nature of their jobs. The long hours, the harsh criticism, and the harsher fans. One comment that seems insignificant to you might cut a developer's mind like a razor blade. So if we, the developers, give you, the fans, a broken product, let us know. If our game has issues, talk about them. But please be respectful, be kind to those who help make and produce the games that you love, and especially to the people who make the games you don't love. Nobody deserves to be treated like less than a human being. My words exactly. My words exactly. Remember that your words, yes, your words, have an impact on the people who make video games. No matter who you are, yours might be the one internet comment that changes a developer's life. Okay. Whoever this is, even though he's set himself to anonymous, I have to say yes. Yes to all of that. We've been through hell and high water for about 30 years. 30 years into the game universe. Borderline. Because most of us who grew up with Atari and Nintendo and whatnot, we grew up around the 80s, so therefore even the dinosaur computers back then, they were all that was there. Yet the funny thing is, when you think about it, those people, living or dead, they've made their only purpose in life was to make people happy. Video games are basically just that, a way to make us feel better about ourselves. If we had a hard day, what do we turn to? We certainly don't turn to family, because family is just that, family. But you want to get away from family. You want to get away from work, at least for a while, at least until your brain settles, and then you don't want, and then you can try to deal with them. At least try to tolerate them for a while. Video games are for those who need a break, for those who like to play video games, for those who love to play video games. This generation of now, I will call it the net generation. Not the next generation, the net generation. We have all these livid, crazy, slightly out of touch people that can't tell the difference between reality and fantasy. If you go to YouTube and you could, and whether it's somebody with a big fan base or somebody with a small fan base, the people who actually take the time to play the games are just as important to the people who actually make the games. I'm one of those people who actually take the time to pull a game out, make sure that whatever is being recorded right now, I make sure that I do a little test run before I do it. I make sure that my sound feedback is the way it is. I make sure that whatever shows up on my video before I upload it, I make sure everything that is supposed to be shown is on there. I can care less about I can care less about how my commentary would turn out. I'm usually doing games around the time that everybody's asleep. Or if they're not asleep, they're not bothering me. At least I find time to do what I do. I myself feel what this person has been doing. He's been developing something that most of us should feel more than grateful, because we need video games just to take our minds away from the supposed norm. And the fact that when you play a video game, you kind of take your mind out for a moment. You want to get away from yourself. Get away from your own world and just, from your regular everyday world, and then just put yourself in this world. It doesn't matter if you're playing Metal Gear, Dynasty Warriors, Breath of Fire, Fable, Halo. It doesn't matter if you're playing something really, really old from the Commodore 64 and then some. It doesn't matter. You can play something totally old or something totally new, and it wouldn't make no lick of sense. But this generation really needs to stop and think about the flowers. Stop and smell the roses. Sit down, shut the fuck up, drink some coffee, or rather yet, drink some goddamn tea. Sit down and drink your goddamn tea, as Sid Highwind would say. That's right, Sid Highwind. Sid Highwind has the words that will tell you like it is. So those who are so irate and out of their godforsaken minds, remember what Sid Hyland always says: sit the fuck down and drink your goddamn tea. I mean, this generation just really needs to chill. I mean, we have enough wars as is. It's like we went through Nintendo and Sega, and then Sony and Microsoft, and God knows what's going on now, and I pretty much really don't care. I'm a gamer. I play games when I'm not doing recording sessions. When I'm not doing Let's Plays. I play a game every so often. It doesn't have to be a Let's Play. I'm just playing a game, just to take my mind off things. Sometimes I play a game just to make myself feel better, just because. Because yes, I feel the same way as those who have spent their whole entire lives doing what they do. I feel the same thing. I'm an author. I get that all the time. I get the frustration. I usually worry about the usual what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? What am I going to write about? This, that, and the other. I develop books. I try to create ideas that would usually take hours into days and into years. I don't expect my family to understand that being what I am is very much difficult. Sometimes it's not as easy as one thinks it is. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it takes shorter. But it all depends. But yeah, this is why we have something like Steam. This is why when indie developers create something and they want feedback, you give them feedback. That's what they want. If it makes the game better, then yes, tell them the things they need to fix. I'll give a good example. Mercenary Kings. Mercenary Kings plays just like Contra. And I think it plays like any running gun you've played in the past. But the one thing that we did as a group, we had one person talking. One person writing all this down. But the rest of us were actually giving this one person a whole list of things that need fixing. That's what being smart is. A smart gamer, if they know if their game is broken in some way and a patch needs to be dealt with, then patch needs to be dealt with. I'll give another example. Chronicles of Dark Lord. It needed a patch at one point and given to only a few people. It was given out and therefore fixed the game. And now the game works a little better than normal, which is wonderful. It's a good thing. And then you have the little trolls out there. The little trolls that aren't doing a goddamn thing. The little trolls and spammers and flamers. They're all complaining about this one game. Like, oh, this game sucks. This game is this. This game is that. Well, let me see. Who died and made you God? think about what you're looking at first. Most people, they just like look and just don't have the patience to look through the entire game. Because I know there are certain parts that are long, certain parts that are short. Some people just don't have the time to look at them, which is understandable, but still. Take the time, and appreciation that most of us put into. Not just the developers. And not just the gamers, but the people who actually do the games on their own channels. Even me. I mean, I'm one of those people who actually put the time in to actually play a certain game. If it will take 100 parts, then goddamn it, I will sit down, I will play a game for 2 hours apart. And I will cycle through all my games just to make sure that if they get finished, then I have done my job. And I will test to this. I enjoy doing what I do. I like the fact that I get to share my knowledge of what I'm getting into. Whether it's an old game or something new, it doesn't matter. If I tend to not know much from past memory of a game that I'm doing, I have all these tabs that I'm somewhat ridiculed by idiots. Say, oh well, you're looking all those tabs. So well, let me tell you something. All these tabs that I'm actually going through, and hey Kim, how you doing? All these tabs that I'm looking for. Okay, except for YouTube, Crunchyroll, and GoGo Anime. All these tabs are what I'm working on right now. I'm working on Dust. I'm working on Final Fantasy VII. I'm going to be working on Ys Origins. I got Super Robot Tyson D, which is basically a script. This one right here is a script. It's a story guide. So therefore, I'm reading the story. I really don't need to do that. But for me, I want to do it because I want to tell you what the story is about. Or at least try to tell you what the story is about. And, like I said, Breath of Fire, Super Robot Tyson D, Ys Origins, Final Fantasy VII, Dust and Illusion Tale, whatever kind of game I'm working on, I will have something as reference to help me remember. So I don't sound like an idiot. Just because. Now, I'm not asking you to bow down and kiss my feet or anything like that. But respect what the people here do. That's what it's about. Respect. The people who have worked their asses off day after day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second, that will take them probably a couple of months to a couple of years. They have to be away from their family. They're going to be tired as all hell. But they're doing something. They're not sitting on their asses just not doing anything. But it keeps people like me and the rest of the free internet space doing what we like doing. Me and probably some other game enthusiasts and LPers like doing what we like doing. Whether it's a pastime or a hobby, or even we're doing it, or even for money. Me, I'm doing it because I love doing what I like to do. I enjoy playing games. I enjoy doing this. And even though I may get a comment every now and then, even if I do manage to get a sub every now and then, whether they stay or they go, my point is that I'm part of the revolution. I'm part of making something in this world. That's what this person here, this developer, has been said. This developer, he has spent his entire life doing what he enjoys doing. And the sad state of affairs is this: hate. So I'm like him. I'm like him. I help the people who have developed the games. I even go so far as to play at least a few minutes of a game and to give my honest opinion about it. If it sucks, I will let them know. I will let them know in a video why it does. If it needs fixing, I will let them know in said video and tell them why. Because if it's for better, it's all good. I'm help pushing out the product so that most of you might enjoy it for yourselves. But yes, I felt I needed to share this with you guys because this generation doesn't know that, you don't really have to kill for a video game. You don't. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go so far as to go to extreme lengths just for a video game. I'm not gonna say you shouldn't do this, but you should have better sense than what you're doing. And if you're gonna start a war, then do the smart thing. Get on a game, play some Street Fighter, and knock the piss out of each other instead of just like flinging words at each other on the internet, making yourself look more stupider than you already are. So therefore, I had to say my 2 cents about it. For I'm one of those people who help with the video games, but I too am sick and tired of the hatred from gamers. So with that, I hope this has really helped you understand a couple of things. I hope you have listened or took the time out to listen to what I had to say about this subject. So therefore, I've been Tenkaichi of Gaming, and I just had to share my 2 cents about this subject right here. Until next time, whatever kind of game I'm going to be playing, take care, God bless, and of course, as always, Tenkai Muso.